What's the point? I spent the past 20 years of my career as a scientist having people asking me this question. What's the point of studying the embryonic development of this worm? Is there any kind of application for this research? Well, when I know that we're studying a very important problem in biology, I have to admit that I have no way of knowing what will be the applications of my research in 10 or even 20 years from now. And this is completely normal. This is by definition what fundamental research is: a research without clear application. A research for the only sake of increasing human knowledge. So now I know that most of you in this room still don't get the point. And you're probably also saying that I'm spending a lot of money doing something that is completely useless. And I can tell you, you're not the only one thinking that. And that's the reason why fundamental research is in great danger today. So let me try to convince you that fundamental research is worth fighting for, and to explain you how we could possibly save it. So I know this is an obscene concept in our society, spending money on something without clear application. And I'm sure you probably think that we have much more important things to do with that money. And you're probably right. Except that you have to consider that our entire technology and our entire civilization is built on innovation made by scientists that were swimming in the dark. Have you ever searched for something on the internet or walking in the street that you consider to be very important and ended up finding something completely different and far more interesting? This is happening all the time when you're doing fundamental research. And that's the reason why we cannot predict the application of our research. Let me give you an example. You probably heard a few months ago about the 2 first human embryos that got their genome edited. This major breakthrough is opening the door to the end of several genetic diseases. Dr. Doudna and Charpentier, the 2 scientists who discovered the Cas9 CRISPR technology, made this long-term dream a reality. What is fascinating about this discovery is that they were not looking for a genome editing technology at all. Instead, they were trying to understand how bacteria were dealing with their viruses. Not even close. Another example that will show you how unpredictable are the application of fundamental research. You might recognize this gentleman. The general relativity theory published by Albert Einstein 100 years ago stated that space and time were linked and that they were relative one to another. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of universe and gravity, and this is as fundamental as a research can possibly be. It is only 80 years later that this theory found its practical application that changed our day-to-day life with the Global Positioning System, also called GPS. Of course, 100 years ago, Google Maps didn't exist, right? And there was no way Einstein could have even envisioned the application of his theory. So now if GPS will be the only one in this situation, the only technology in this situation, I will call it an exception. But do you know that every piece of technology and every treatment you're using on a daily basis have their roots in fundamental research? Because we cannot build or repair something we don't understand. And the purpose of fundamental research is to understand how the structure of things and how they function. So now my next question is, would you live without the next technology that will cure cancer or Alzheimer or will make your life way easier? Because you're answering yes to this question if you consider that we have more important things to do with our money than funding fundamental research. Now that I hope I convinced you that fundamental research is not only important, but is fundamental for the advancement of our civilization, let's talk about this graph. I hope this graph will represent the decline of obscurantism, but unfortunately, that's not the case. This graph represents the drop in US funding for fundamental research from the 60s to today. And I'm always amazed by this catastrophic drop. If we look at this graph, we can expect that the next generation will see the extinction of fundamental research. If we cross this blue line, and I'm afraid I will still be alive at that time, Einstein will become a dinosaur. If we cross this blue line, the next generation will live in a world where everything that defines human knowledge will not exist anymore. Could you believe this? So how could we avoid this? It's very simple. We need more cash to fund fundamental research. That's it. Very simple, but very complicated at the same time. A lot of petitions have been sent to university provosts, media, ministers of every country for a very long time with very minimal impact. We have no choice to admit now that governments do not consider funding fundamental research as important enough. So what could we do? The idea I would like to explore with you today is why not having the industry more involved in funding fundamental research. And this idea is in line with the news we hear these days about big companies investing in research, particularly in artificial intelligence in Montreal this year. So now let me show you how a startup can also contribute to fund fundamental research. By giving you as an example, the company I created with my two co-founders, Michael and Abdullah. We tailored our company so that we can answer a real need to the society, generate revenue to, of course, promote our growth as a company, and fund fundamental research at the same time. Our idea was to extract a commercial value from something every scientist creates during their career, their expertise. It could be an expertise in interpreting microscopy imaging, is setting the right parameter for a very specific experiment. It could be expertise in data analysis. Most of this expertise is extremely valuable for other scientists and is most of the time impossible to transmit through scientific articles. Usually you need to have a student coming to your lab for 3-4 years to transmit this expertise. So how could we capture this expertise and sell it? You probably heard that artificial intelligence is the end of your job, is the end of schools with actual human teachers, and even that robots will start killing people in the streets. But let's be serious. Have you ever considered that AI may have a positive impact on our society? The technology is advanced enough today so that an AI can learn very specific skills for several professionals. And this is why it is so scary. We're afraid to be replaced. So now, why not using this AI to capture the expertise of scientists and create a value that didn't exist before AI arrived in our life? If we can sit down and observe scientists setting parameters for a very specific experiment, then we can create a data set to train an AI. After training this AI, we'll be able to set appropriately the parameter for this group of experiment, but it will be able to do that in every research lab all around the world. So why not then creating revenue from the utilization of this AI and use that money to fund fundamental research? This is with this idea in head that we created our first AI-powered platform that captured the expertise of a group of scientists that we call bioinformaticians and who are computer scientists using very complicated algorithms to analyze human genomes and sell this expertise to other scientists called life scientists, allowing them to boost their research. So now, this is our solution. Using technology to create a value from the world of research to fund research. And my point here today is not to say that we found the ultimate solution that will save fundamental research from extinction. My point today is the survival of fundamental research may depend on industrial initiatives going in this direction so that we never cross this line. And we keep improving our healthcare system and our quality of life. So I hope I convinced you today that letting fundamental research becoming a human activity of the past is not something that we want to be considered by the present or the next generation. I deeply hope that more and more entrepreneurs will consider funding fundamental research, that you will consider using technology not only to build something new or practical or to become rich, but also to support the research for the only sake of increasing human knowledge. Because the promotion of human knowledge is not the responsibility of government alone. It is my responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is the responsibility of each and every one of us. Thank you.